brief side talk here. One of the things, if you coach, I got different sectors, so it's interesting. We were talking, one of the great divides in our world is testosterone. You coach little girls, you coach girls, and I will tell you the number one thing you deal with is confidence. It is a big deal. I spend most of my time trying to convince little girls to be kinder to themselves, because some of the things they say to themselves, you would never say to a kid. And they hammer themselves, and you've got to keep that in mind. You've got to build it up. You've got to make sure they're okay. Guys, that's why I said testosterone. Girls have no confidence. Guys have confidence. It's just ridiculous. No, you can't jump off that building, fool. They're just different animals. But you've got a different war to wage because of that. But I think you've got to be very aware of your clientele and where they're at. It was really interesting talking to some of these guys. Molly, for instance, was really interesting to watch how quickly she discussed. I got it. So this is what you want? Yeah, that's what I want. And she did some nice things with just a little bit of talk. See, come on, baby, you got to lay off yourself. Keep in mind, C was the same one was going to bounce the ball real hard. And so C makes a mistake. Come on, C. Just figure it out. It's not a mistake if you learn. It's just an event. Nothing more, nothing less. And we got to cultivate that. Remember I told you the team I promised was going to win the national championship. It was because they had gotten past that. I had 2 kids on there. If you ever had this kid, I had 2 kids. One was that kid that every time she made a mistake, she was a setter. And she would always, and I'm like, it was like her hands betrayed her. Like, that's not what I told you to do. Their hands were like doing their own thing. Like, what are you doing, Johnny? Stop that. And it was always this crazy tense look at her hands, like they violated her. Come on, John. And the other was, I had a little girl that was constantly talking. And I said, Mae, you don't want to do that. I mean, if you talk to yourself and start answering yourself, she was doing the whole thing. I said, don't do that. Just give you a chance. Don't yell at you. If you need to be barked at, I'll bark. But don't do this. And they will do that to themselves. Those are things you got to monitor. I mean, it's a different domain, but I think building confidence, once they have confidence in the fact that you will not lose your mind if they make a mistake. I will tell you, I don't get mad about mistakes. I get mad about effort. Effort drives me crazy. If there's an effort issue, you'll hear my voice. If it's a mistake, you're trying to do something. I'm cool with that. I need you to be full time, but I also need them to know that there's a safety net there, that mistakes are truly, we're the benefactors of mistakes. We grow, and those are the experiences we've got to make sure that they get. Creating a gym culture, and these are thoughts, and I just want you to think about your gym as I go through some of these things. Think about your vision. I think it's important as a coach to kind of present your vision. A lot of times we just walk into a group of girls and you think that organically this is going to occur. It's not. You're going to get what you tend to. If you can plant seeds all you want, but if you don't water them, it ain't going to matter. So think about what you want. And that's one of the first things I always talk to our coaches, coaching philosophy. Do you have a coaching philosophy? That's part of culture. What is your coaching philosophy? Mine's very simple. It's all based on challenge, 3-part challenge. I want every single day for every single girl to come in and challenge the other girl in the gym for their spot. I want every single day for every single girl to come in and challenge me in my knowledge base. I want every single day for every single girl to come in and ultimately challenge themselves to be the best version of themselves. I want it to all be about a challenge. And every day we rinse, ring, repeat. Every day. And I let them know that. And it's all based on hard work. We're going to work harder than you. I'm not saying we'll be better than you. We will work harder than you. That's it. And sometimes I just simply run out of points. I just run out of points. That's true. And that's how I want to play. I want people to believe that they've got to kill us to beat us. And that has got to be a day-to-day thing. My culture is based on what I say I want. And so I started with the see it, say it, and stay with it. Vision. What is your vision? Not Mike's vision. What is your vision? If you want a kumbaya existence, that is cool, then generate that and feed that. But don't ask for kumbaya and when the whistle blows, become some kind of psycho. That confuses people. You know, who we are in practice is who should be in the games. We've all played for those guys. Guys that don't say a word in practice and then blow up in the games, you're kind of going, who are you? You know, this guy just came out of a Stephen King novel. You know, who is this? Or the guy that screams nonstop in practice and is silent during games. Now your kids are confused. They make a play and they're waiting to be yelled at. I said, no. You got to have a vision. What is your vision? What is your vision? What do you want people to see when they look at your team? I stand over here. Celebrating like mad. Then I kind of swung around and looked, and the score was 18-3. And I couldn't tell who was ahead. And and then I realized you guys were down 18-3 when I walked in. He said, fight to the end. Fight to the end. I said, you've accomplished it. You're down 18-3, and kids are celebrating like wild men. You've accomplished it. But I should be able to walk in and go, if you've done your job, this is what he wants. This is who he is. This is part of his soul. This is what he's about, right? If you ask people, it's the greatest compliment in the world. They're going to tell you, prepared, fast, warriors. Anybody you talk, you'll get one of those three or all three. They'll tell you that every single time. And we've worked hard to maintain that. That's culture. Establishing what it is. But you can't have culture if you change every day. So if I want to be Captain Hardass, but you got to be Captain Hardass every single day. I tell officials that all the time, by the way. You know, official that calls a double, and I say, that's cool, that is a double by the rule, but you better be pretty clean for the rest of this match because you just set a standard that I don't believe you can keep. But I'll be here. I'll be here all match and I'll be letting you know. But that's true. It is true. And so you got to figure it out. If I'm going to be Johnny Rules, be Johnny Rules. If you're going to be Johnny Flexible, be Johnny Flexible. But it's a day-to-day thing. Every day you got to be on task. You got to communicate your plan passionately. I don't come in and say, guys, I want to be the hardest working team in America. I don't come in and say, you know, guys, it'd be kind of cool if we worked hard. I mean, that'd be cool, right? I mean, if we work hard and do some things hard. No. We're going to be the hardest working team in America. It starts with whipping their tail, those 6 courts, and then we're taking this show and we're going to go on the road and we are kicking butt everywhere we go work-wise. We may not win every night, but we are going to outwork everybody that gets in our way. And people are going, whoa. It's got to be passionately. You can't come in there and question what your vision is. You know, if this is how I want my family to be, I've got to come up and tell you, this is what my family is about. You know, I love my family. And it's not about words. It's about passion. It's about physically showing it every day. You know, if you really want to be good at this, that's what you got to decide. If you really want to be good at this, then your passion will drive you crazy. It'll make you go places you never knew existed. If you really want to be good at this. You know, the greatest talk I ever had in regards to this, I had just coached at the University of Cincinnati. I'd been just named the Region Coach of the Year in NCAA and retired and came and I was coaching club. And so I get to the club season late and they give me a 15-2s team. Well, you know what? I'd spent 10 years in college coaching. I had a plan. I was pretty good, probably not your average 15-2s guy. And so I coach against this little kid from Circle City. I look over at him and he's like a child. He's this little guy and he's over there doing his thing. And I never will forget it. We got up 10-0 on him and I told our guys, not a point. Not a point. Destroy them. They're our rivals. So we destroyed them. Destroyed. I emptied the bench. Destroyed. I came up to him. I said, son, nice effort. I said, man, if you ever need anything, let me know. I said, I liked your emotion. I turned around to talk to my team. As I turned back around, one of the largest human beings I'd ever seen in my life had that little boy hoisted up in the air, just like this, holding the kid. The kid's feet were off the ground. I turned around and I looked. I thought, holy God. I said, excuse me. And the guy holding him up, he looked at me, he goes, yes. I said, I'm going to tell you two things, sir. He said, what? I said, one, that's really impressive, that you can hold a man up with one hand. That is ungodly. He looked, he said, thanks. I said, two, you're probably going to go to jail if you don't put him down. You got to settle down, man. And he set the boy down and he walked away. The little boy looked at me and I said, man, I said, son, I'm sorry about that. And I never will forget these words. He looked, he said, I'm only coaching because I want beer money. I said, what? He goes, I'm in college. I just want beer money. I said, get a paper out. You know, there's a lot of other ways to make beer money. This is probably not going to be the way you want to go. You know, and so you got to have a plan on what you want to do, you know, and you got to know what you want. If it's, I just want to bridge the gap between class and life, fine, then have that in mind. If you want to just make a little extra money, it's a hobby, fine. This was my hobby, I get it. But I think that whatever you want, you're going to get, but you got to be passionate about what it is. And if you want to be great at it, then don't be afraid to say, I want to be great at it. But you got to tell kids you want to be great at it, because what happens when you sell things passionately, your vision, it becomes theirs. You saw it a little with Molly here. You saw it a little with the right side. You saw it with C when she came up afterwards. Her comment was simple. I'll be better tomorrow. I said, I know you will. That's what you want, right? But we got to think about it. So understand, communicate it passionately. Don't go half-assed. This passage I want you to read because it may be the single best passage of all times. This is why mediocre exists. So what is missing that makes most of us ordinary? Maybe what we start to lack is energy, or maybe it's a kind of combative courage which we are sick of soliciting to fight the human tendency to be comfortably mediocre. I will stop there for a second. That is true. There is a fight every day. If you think these girls want to come in and run as hard as they can run, throw their bodies on the floor as hard as they can throw them, jump as high as they want, as high as they can jump every single time, every single day, then I got to have what you had for breakfast. I got to have that, because that isn't true. It's hard, man. It's hard. Think about it. We're asking kids to run and throw themselves on a floor. Floors are made of wood. Trees are made of wood. If you saw your next door neighbor's daughter running headlong into a tree all day long, certifiable. It's true. And we're asking these kids to do it. And you got to ask every single day. And what happens is we stop because they do want to be comfortable. You know, there's a great adage in coaching. Great coaches trouble the comfortable and comfort the troubled. They will trouble the comfortable and trouble the comfortable. That's what we do as coaches. Think about it. That's exactly what you do. So here, they want to be comfortable, and you got to go to war every day. Every day. Whether you feel good, feel bad, you got to go to war. The rest of it goes, there's an emotional battle that is constant when we're trying to take our players to higher levels, and our players are unconsciously fighting, it's not always unconsciously fighting us to stay at a more comfortable level. The way, and this is the most important thing for you, Scott, the way the lower level coach eventually loses the respect of the team is by not being demanding enough, not harping on a higher standard, and not making the stressful, passionate investment and risk, heaven forbid, the loss of popularity. They win the popularity contest, but sacrifice respect. The result is the standards have been lowered. I have friends. I love the kids I coach. I will tell you, when Kate played for me, I loved her. And she was one of my all-time favorite, even possibly my favorite player. But She was a player. Now, we're very good friends. Then, I coached her and she played for me. And Kate will tell you, if you want to be mystified, because she did this at dinner last night, which I grimace when she tells these stories, I never gave up on making sure they got it done. I stayed on it, and there were times where it was too much. It was just intense. But I never backed off. This is what I want. This is what I want. And what happens is sometimes we stop doing that and we decide that I want to be popular. I want to be that coach. Well, I can tell you this. Norman Gottschalk. I'll never forget Norman Gottschalk. Norman Gottschalk had the largest failure rate in the history of the University of Cincinnati. He was the most brutal teacher I'd ever had in my life. I believed, and I went to him one day. I said, Mr. Gottschalk, I need help. I'm trying to figure out the ATP pattern. I can't figure out where the last ATP comes in the Krebs cycle. I said, I know this is stupid, but I have this feeling that I'm going to flunk out of college if I don't learn the Krebs cycle. And he looked at me and said, that's not stupid. It happens all the time. Please God, I got to find the last one. He was the hardest teacher I'd ever had, Norman Gottschalk. I'll remember him for life. He pushed me to places I'd never gone before. I didn't always like it, but I never will forget him. If you said, Mike, name 5 other science or biology teachers you had, I don't know if I could name 5 other all the way through high school. I don't know if I could. But Norman Gottschalk stamped in my mind because he wanted more. He demanded more and every day requested it. He never cared to be my buddy, but he did care that I got home, that I got better. And so that quote, I think, is worth reading again as a coach. I think sometimes we lose that. That quote and the other quote I oftentimes will hit my coaches with is, don't be disappointed with the results you don't get from the work you didn't do. So don't be disappointed with the results you didn't get from the work you didn't do. Everybody wants to be champions. They just don't want to show up every day. Doesn't work that way. Figure out what you want. Thermostat versus thermometer. You need to figure out who the hell you are. Who you are. Thermostat. Thermostat sets the temperature in the room. Thermometer measures the temperature in the room. So the last thing, I always see it with our coaches. They'll come in and they're going, girls are lazy today. So I just called practice early. Oh, that's great, thermometer. That's great. So you just came in the room, realized it was cold, and just, all right, it's cold, let's go home. A thermostat comes in the room, realizes it's cold, you know what they do? They turn up the temperature. Some people are historically thermostats, some people are thermometers. If you're a head coach, if you were coaching on my staff, it is okay to be a thermometer because I can tell you with 100% certainty, I'm a thermostat. If you're a thermostat and I'm a thermostat, you're going to be miserable if you play for us. Because there's a lot, that's not hot enough, baby. We just keep turning. But you need to know that. And so thermostat versus thermometer set the tone for competition. Great coaches get their kids nervous before practice because they know they're going to be put in competitive situations. Great story. This came out last night. Kate Van. I would take all of our kids. I was trying to find a way to get Indianapolis kids to come to Muncie and play. It worked, by the way, in a big way. But I would put them all in my little minivan. I know. I put them all in my minivan and I would drive. I would get all the Muncie kids and we'd drive to Indy. But one of those kids in the van was my daughter. She was about 4 at the time. And my daughter I didn't realize how sharp she was. I also didn't know what a corrupt influencer Kate Van was. And so Kate would always have Kylie come to the back. And I thought, that's cool. You know, they're befriending my daughter and this will be a memory for life for her. Bullshit. That's not what was happening. Kate was trying to get her, hey, get your dad's practice plan. Or she would say, and my daughter, I was so proud of her. Kate would say every night I would ask her, did you see his plan? She'd go, yeah. She never saw my plan. She'd go, yeah. And she'd go, what's on it? And my daughter, she said, would tell her every night, I saw something called pit drill on there. And all the kids were like, oh my God. My daughter realized by their reactions, pit drill must have been some heinous, horrible drill. And so every night when they would ask her, she would do it that way. But those guys knew every night they were going to be in for a little bit of a tussle. It would always be concluded with love. It would always have care involved in it. But every night there was going to be a little bit of a tussle going on. And every night in the back of that van, they would go over what was going to happen that evening. And Dan Gable, by the way, is probably the greatest individual wrestler of our lifetime. And he's renowned across the world, especially in Iowa, for being one of the greatest athletes of all times. Intense physical conditioning equals intense mental conditioning. Players should go through workouts that are more physical and mentally challenged in practice before games. I am a firm believer that practice should be brutal, hard, and that games should be the reward. That should be the gift. And I believe that that's how it works. The practice should be tougher than the game. The game should be looked at as a gift. I also believe that practices are for coaches, games are for players. I do. You do mine, I'll do yours. And that's kind of what I tell our guys. You do mine, I'll do yours. You come in here and work the way I want to work, we're cool. You do mine, I'll do yours. And I think that if you want kids to be mentally tough, you probably need to give them a chance to be mentally tough, like Molly right here. You know, Molly, what the hell? You can't set that kid right there. You had a chance to go up 10-0. You got to do it. We got to rethink this. And you got to teach them how to do that. But I think if you want anything physical, people ask me all the time, what kind of weight routine you guys use at Munciana? How many days a week are you guys in the gym, weight room? None. You want to get strong on your own time. That's your life. You know, you just got to be able to sustain what I do. You know, if I have my options between pressing and passing, I'm going to pass every day. I'm going to pass. But how about I do this? How about I put the situation, and I think that's why I invited Ted, and I said, any of you are always welcome to come. I think you'd come and go, whoa. Because that's the Canadians will come down in a couple weeks. Whoa, whoa. I always love it because they always get crazy about it, but it's fast. And so why couldn't I get all of my conditioning in drills? Why can't I make drills so paced and so vigorous that I don't need to worry about running after practice or doing any of those things? Why can't I make physical conditioning part of my practice? And if I make the physical demands, the higher the physical demand, the higher the mental demand. You've been in a gym. Anybody that's ever spent any time in a weight room knows that if it's a set of 8, 7 and 8 are where you get stronger. Let's not kid ourselves. 1 through 6, we got to do it. Anybody who's ever ran has thought they're dying. You know, I watch those guys run all the time. I'm like, why are you doing that, dude? It looks miserable. But if you've ever had to run, there's a moment where you want to talk yourself out of it. That's it. You want to talk yourself out of it. Guys that run marathons are always talking one more step. One more step. One more step. I talk to guys that run them all the time. They said, they talked to me about marathons. They said the first 25 miles really are not hard. What? Okay, all right. He said, but to be honest, the last mile and a half is brutal. Brutal. Because you're close enough to know it's over and it gets hard. You need to have those mental hurdles to get where you got to go. Challenge them. Challenge them. Let those guys go. I will tell you this. There are times where we've run drills where the kids have literally got done with the drill and you could physically feel those guys kind of going, what else? What else? What do you got? It was nothing. Nothing. And at that point, now you started to create guys that can play against anybody. And you got to give them superpowers. You do. They're already down as it is, confidence-wise, and you got to let them get wins. And some of the greatest wins you could ever get are wins against yourself. You look and go, I can't do that. And then they do it, and all of a sudden they walk out of your practice bigger because they achieved something that they didn't think they could do. You always believe they can do it. They just didn't. So I think that intense physical conditioning equals intense mental conditioning is real. Game like practice like games. I had a basketball coach in high school, and he told me, I can't play you, Mike. I said, what? I said, but coach, I'm a gamer. He goes, you don't practice hard, Mike. I was a sophomore. You don't practice hard. How you practice is how you play. And I walked out of there going, I hate that old guy. He's way wrong. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. I'm a gamer, dude. I'm a gamer. Put the clock on, we'll go. Way wrong. Way wrong. How you practice is how you play. And how you practice, if you can push your practices to the point where people are a little bit edgy, that's how you really play, because that's the game. You know, we can come out here and do whatever. I turn on the clock, put, I don't know how it is in the East, in the Midwest, if I said 75 years old, 75 pounds overweight, extremely white, it's a referee. That's a referee in the Midwest. That's all of them. I put one of those guys up, then I put 200, 300 people. It's a different animal. You know, these kids, you don't understand. Like I was telling one of the coaches, these guys make mistakes in a game, and it's just parents up there. It's beautiful because I can look and go, you look and going, I'm talking to my mom, they're going, what happened there? Scott screwed that up. And you go, yeah, Scott's a jackass. And I'm going, yeah, Mom, you're right. But now if they're all coaches, every one of you guys are looking, ooh, that's a lot of pressure on those dudes. We need to put that kind of pressure on people every day just so they learn how to handle the game. And you don't have to do it cruelly. You just have to set expectations or a culture. And that's kind of the culture we have. Once again, I hit compete. Games versus drills. You know, take all of your drills and turn them into games. We were talking, yeah. We were talking about drill setting, but make them all games. Make them all scored. You know, we do circle pass, oldest drill in the world. Circle pass, make it a game. We do 4-part warm-up, and they're all games. So first part is what we call 2-ball pepper. And it's pepper, but I hit 10 balls at you. You dig it, I hit it. There's no set. So I'm hitting, you're digging, and we're repeatedly doing this. And so I go and I get to 7 before I screw up, or you get to 7, and they kind of score it, winner or loser. We're gonna compete on every little drill we do. If I do circle pass, we need to get 50 quality passes in 5 minutes. Now all of a sudden it's different. Take any drill you have and figure out how to make it a game. Anything. Every one of our serving drills, we don't do a single serving drill that's not a game. We'll put dots in the corner, 6-foot by 6-foot corners. You gotta serve, you gotta score 25 points. 12 balls into the corners, 2 points for any ball that lands in the corner. You gotta get a let serve at some point, 25 points. And you gotta go. Serve, go get your ball, get back. Go, go, go. So if you're a really good server, you could get done pretty quickly, maybe 13 balls. If you're a really bad server and wanna win, just be really fast. You gotta serve 70 balls in the same period of time. But we gotta go, you know, and so think about your drills. And you were talking about, you know, we gotta stay with the plan. You can stay with the plan. You can stay with the plan. You just score yours. You just score yours. Do the same plan, but just score it. You know, so if Kate puts a plan together, there's no rule that says we can't score it. If she just says we're gonna pass for 5 minutes and you look and say, I wanna pass for 5 minutes, but I wanna know tonight, we got 47 last week. I wanna know if we're getting better. No one's gonna look and go, that's wrong, right? We gotta do that. And so I think that I would like to think about how do I change them all? You know, how do you change them either from competitive to cooperative? So circle pass, you know what I'm talking about. Serve, and they pass, a passer goes to target, target goes to server, yeah. So we look, okay, we need 50 good passes. That's one way to do it. Another way to do it is, I need 20 passes in a row without an error. I just need 20 passes in a row without an error. You know, and I can make it cooperative now. Maybe the server now changes a little bit of their mentality and mojo, and now we're just taking care of the ball. And it doesn't have to be competitive. I know a lot of times you look and go, this guy is crazy competitive. No, I just want everybody to get better. So cooperative, I'm cool with cooperative. I'm probably crazier in a cooperative drill than I am in a competitive drill. And if it's in essence about making people better, then let's pile it on. And I went through and explained cooperative and competitive again. I don't think we do enough cooperative drills. The Brazilian warm-up you saw, that drill came as a player. I was playing against the Brazilians, and I walked in and they were warming up. The only difference was they were ripping balls. Coach put a ball in play, guy passed it, guy set it, guy jumped and rocked it. Guy gets blown up, and they were rocking the ball. So it can evolve a lot from that. But it's cooperative. And like I said, if you can't prove to me that I can hit a ball right at you, then how am I going to ever look at you in a game and say, hit it there? Right? I got to prove that I can do it. And so cooperative drills go a long ways. Take your drills, and I always do 5-minute segments, but if it's a 5-minute segment, either I want a portion of it done perfectly or a portion of it scored. So anything I do, if it's a partner drill, just passing back and forth, I need 30 perfect passes back and forth before an error, or I need 50 passes in 5 minutes. Simple. But you set the score. You asked earlier, somebody asked me, who keeps that score? You can. They can. They can keep it out. I'm not the guy looking and writing down all of them always. If I see the same kid screw up the same drill 16 times, I'm kind of going, probably a bench. You're probably on the bench. You're probably not going to play right away. But the most important part is they know. And they challenge themselves. Kid gets to 30. Well, that kid, your coach could look and go, it's not 40, you lose. But if the kid looks and says, well, last week I was at 22, that's a win. It's a win. And we got to think that way. The cauldron, I have a bunch of stuff on that. Like I said, if you want to email me, but you can look it up. It's an amazing piece. Anson Dorrance was an average coach. He was at UNC. He went to, if you know basketball, he went to Dean Smith's basketball practice. Dean Smith was one of the greatest coaches in the country at the time. And Dean Smith is where he learned it. They did it in basketball. They timed everything. They scored sprints. They scored every single thing they did in practice. They were scoring first person back from water. They had managers chart everything. You don't have that luxury, but you can create a little bit of that scenario in practice. Great story. Had 3 really good middle blockers. Great kids. Beautiful, maybe as good a kids as you could ever have. One of the middle blockers was big and tough. She's about 6'3", 6'4", just tough. The other was this little, kind of a thinner girl, 5'11"-ish, insane athlete. And one was kind of a prima donna kid, about 6'1", nice kid, very skilled. Well, I would post positionally who won each position every night. I would just put it on my office door, be done. I'd write it down at the end of practice, put it up there. So one night I put it up there, true story, not proud of it. I'm in my office and these 3 idiots come in. They said, Mike, you didn't put up the middles tonight. I said, I'll be honest, Sloan, I didn't think it was a very good night. She said, so you don't have a winner? I said, well, I guess if I had to be pushed, Sloan, you were the best. You were the best. Erica looked at me, she goes, who's second? I said, I don't know, man. That's kind of a shit and dirt thing tonight. We weren't very good. I said, I don't know. And Kiki looked at me, she said, well, we got to have a winner. There's got to be a second. I said, Kiki, if you punch Erica as hard as you can in the stomach, you're second. I turned around, down goes Erica. I turned back around, Erica's holding her stomach. She goes, I will kill you, Kiki. I looked and I said, Kiki, get in the car fast. I said, get out of here. I said, I was kidding. And she goes, am I second? And she was running out the door. I said, you're second. She goes, Erica, I will kill you. I said, probably extreme, but a real story, a real story. And so be careful when you're posting these things. But people want to know. People want to know and have different things. I've changed things sometimes. I was telling last night, I got 4 DSs right now. There's going to be 1 bro, 3 kids off the bench on my team right now. One of them's going to be really happy. The guy gets to have a different uniform. They're going to really be happy. The other 3 are probably going to be kind of edgy all year long, and I've got to score them all year long, but I got to make sure I put things in place where each and every one of them could potentially win. I can't have one guy just winning and just beating them down. I've got to give them their shots to be strong in their places. And that's going to be a challenge. The kid that I think that is my incumbent, who would be my libero, is going to Wisconsin. The kid that's probably her stiffest challenge is younger than her. She's going to Stanford. The kid that was the bro in the age group below her last year is going to Penn State. The fourth bro and the youngest of the bunch is going to Texas. You know, and so that's going to be brutal. You know, Kate played on a team where the starting bro was voted the world's best libero at the junior national world championships. Kate was the alternate on that team, and the little girl that never got to play was maybe the best defender and passer to ever play at Indiana University. Broke every record they ever had. You know, that's a good problem. But the hardest problem is keeping them going. Kate wasn't my bro. And they always asked that. In those days, the bro couldn't serve, if you remember when the rule came up. So the one little girl always thought, she'll kick Kate in the butt, I'm the bro. No, the fact was, the other girl couldn't serve to save her life. She couldn't serve lunch, much less the ball. So it was close, Kate was a little better. So the kid who couldn't serve became my bro because I couldn't lose a server. Could I explain that? No. But those are things you have to be able to do. You have to be able to challenge them all, and you have to be able to play them all. And if you're going to compete. Creating culture and character. Accountability. Make it, you know, the ability to push yourself when no one's watching is critical. Create scenarios where your kids are in charge of themselves. Do that. Watch it sometime. Let them do that. What would happen in your gym, if no coach showed up? What would happen if you're not there? You know what, here's one of the amazing things, and I firmly believe this. I don't mean this to be insanely sexist, but the reason there's so many men coaches in college volleyball is simply this. As a men's player, or as a boy growing up, you didn't have a coach. Most of us didn't have coaches. We just taught ourselves how to play. Every young lady in America has had a coach all the way through. So what will happen if you go into a gym, boys will immediately, if there's two guys in the gym, they're playing one-on-one on the net. If there are four of them, they're playing two-on-two, bam, bam, bam. Girls, because all they've ever done is be coached, will kind of sit back and wait for somebody to come in and tell them what to do. In fact, they'll sit over here and tie their shoes for 30 minutes if you let them. It's true. What do you have to do to create accountability? You have to create an atmosphere where they will coach themselves. When the little girls broke off and immediately started playing, I loved it. I loved it because that doesn't always happen. And so you got to create a scenario where they can coach themselves. If you weren't in the gym, what would they do? And if you look and go, Mike, they would go immediately into things. They would immediately go. I walk into ours. I never told our guys what to do. I walk in every night, there's some kind of circle pass and hit thing going. Servers, passers, setters, setting, guys hitting and rotating through. There's no joke, they just go. I didn't do it. I never told them to do it. But if you can create an accountability where they know that by doing things that are beneficial, I will get mine, then create it. You got to go, but you got to let them have some latitude. I told you early on, I never run warm-ups like the stretching. You do you. Everybody, one thing I noticed, first time I ever went and played overseas, I was fresh out of college. So I'm out there running, doing exercises, bouncing around, and I look and there's two guys, a guy from Russia and a guy from Poland. They're smoking on the bench. And their idea of stretching was this. And then they're going, and they even looked at me, you will die. You cannot do this. You cannot do this stretch. You will die. You will die. I'm like, you know, their idea of stretching, let's do it. Let's do it. And, you know, and everybody's different. And so I let them run their stretch. I let it be their time to do them. But I always want to see what it looks like. I always want to see what it looks like. You know, there's certain things that you just want to make sure of. Accountability. How do you dictate it? You know, I had a little girl that talked to me. She played at North Carolina. She got stripped of her captaincy. Ooh. And she was devastated. Coach came in, was mad, took away my captaincy. I'm no longer the captain. It was a chef master kid. I said, it's not a badge. Who cares? That's a word. Captain's a word. Leader is a way of life. I said, just lead them. You don't have to be captain. I said, Mabry, who was the captain on the 3 years you played for me? She said, I don't know. I never thought of it. I said, no. I said, did you ever call the coin flip? Because that's usually a captain, right? She said, I never called the coin flip. I said, no, because the kid who's going to play the least is who I want calling the coin, because I want to warm up. So if a kid was on crutches, you're calling coin. You're my coin flip. You can go up there and talk and act like you're captain. I don't care. You know, there was never a set captain. She goes, well, I thought I was the captain. I said, that's all that matters. The team thought you were captain. That's all that matters. That's accountability. I don't need to be in charge of everything. I just need to get what I want. Excellence is a daily endeavor. Before I can, I must be. I think it's very fair. That was Jim Tressel, who was a very gifted coach. I think he's right. I think that I really struggle. I don't think you can be a champion on the court unless you're a champion off. I don't think you can be a great teammate unless you fully understand servant leadership. I don't think that you can get people where they got to go until you understand what makes people tick. And so if it's going to happen, I have to be that. I have to be that. If you want your culture to be strong, you want your culture to be built on athleticism, then you better be athletic. You got to look the part. You got to walk the walk. And I think that's critical. You know, hope is not a strategy is my closer on this. I talk about culture everywhere. If you saw the culture I'm talking about, you know, there's different cultures, right? If you get a chance, there is a great piece. Google Witches of the Orient. Google Witches of the Orient. It's beautiful, beautiful piece. I remember this piece. This is the new movie they made out of it. It's about a 30-minute YouTube gig. Some of you may remember it. 1964, there was a guy named Daimatsu who coached the Japanese national team. The Japanese national team was the second best team in the world at the time. The best team in the world by far was the Soviet Union. The first Olympic Games were held in 1964. Daimatsu was the head coach and the architect of the Japanese national team. The nickname Witches of the Orient was not given by the Japanese to the Japanese. It was given by the Soviets to the Japanese, because the Japanese just absolutely wailed on them. They were the greatest volleyball team in history. So if you look at this video and you're going, whoa, is that the way things are in Muncie? No, that can never happen again. It is this training video that you're going to look at and go, whoa, it is unreal. It is unreal. But you look and you're going, wow. But you listen to those guys talk about it now, and it's a really interesting piece. There's another piece that was like a 60 minutes portion of that. It's just the 1964 Japanese women's national team. And you look at it and you're going to go, is that what I'm talking about? No, but that was their culture. Their culture was fierce. It was way intense, more intense than anything I've ever witnessed in my life. Your culture is what you want, you know, and you can't hope it. Daimatsu was going to go in and he was going to take and he was going to beat the Soviet Union with a smaller team. He knew if he had the smallest team in the world, they had to be the toughest team in the world. He knew that they had to endure toughness. He said they knew they had to play defense harder than anybody. They had to pass better than anybody. And his way of training was this violent, this brutal method, and it made him the best team in the world. They were the best team in the world by far. You can't hope for that to happen. He couldn't look. My team, I said earlier, very fast. And you'll see it everywhere. I just spoke in Iowa about it. There's DVDs or whatever people are watching these days about it. It's all about speed. Do you think I woke up and wanted to be fast? Or did I wake up and realize that my middles are always going to be smaller than your middles? My pins are always going to be smaller than your pins. And either I find a way to get around the mountain or try to go through it. And I haven't had a lot of success going through it. You know, as a player, I realized I couldn't run into a big player, but I could run around a big player. You got to catch me to block me type of mentality. So we became fast. I didn't hope that. I built, this is what we're going to go. Our strategy was to be the fastest team. Our culture is to be the fastest team. We train passing like crazy, and my expectations on my middles are ridiculous. But it's the only way you can win. You want to win, that's what we do. Hope is not a strategy. So think about what you want, you know, and I just think that sometimes we bridle ourselves. I do. I hate when coaches go, well, we're not going to be very good. I hate that, you know, because that's giving up on the kids. Your job, and I will close with this, isn't to win championships. It's not. It's not. If championships, somebody asked me about that, you know, and after Kate's thing, we kind of figured it out, and we've won the last 3. We would have won the 4 in a row if it hadn't been for COVID. It would have made, I think we've had now 8 national championships in 19 years of this thing. If championships were what made me tick, that would mean that 11 out of the 19 years I've coached, I've been miserable. You don't want to do that. That's a horrible life. So you got to look at it and understand this. And my buddy asked me, he was just devastated. He lost to us again. Heaven forbid. He said, I've had it. I'm horrible at this. And I said, Jay, you're not horrible at it. You just told me that your bro was the favorite player you've ever coached and you never had a kid get better. He said, that's true. I said, did all your kids get better? He said, they did. I said, Jay, let's go get a beer and celebrate that. Because parents pay for you to make their kids better. They don't pay for championships. That's delusional. It would be the same as you having a plumbing issue in your house, and you pay a plumber to come in to stop the leak. If he stops the leak, he's done his job. Parents expect to pay the plumber to come in and stop the leak, and when they come home, there's a hot tub there too. That's not real. That's not real. If you make them all better, you've done your job. You'll make them better with culture. You just got to be consistent. That's the hard part. It is hard part. Any questions? Tomorrow is a lot of game stuff. The majority and the meat and potatoes of it is tomorrow. A lot of skill stuff, teaching the skill. But the things I like tomorrow, the game management part of it, there's so much more you could do. So much more. If you ever watch college volleyball, it's interesting. If you ask some of those guys, what are they writing? What are they writing down? You know, and there was a guy named Wayne Stolick that used to coach at George Mason. And he would be constantly talking into this little handheld microphone, you know, taking notes and kind of understanding how the game works. There's so much more to it that you could really, I think, would enjoy. You'll see my stuff, and I'll give you a heads up on it. The reason I do mine, I love teaching. I hate coaching. Hate it. Coaching, my emotions come into play. Yeah, my competitive nature, and I don't like that, Mike. I like the teaching part. And so the records I keep on the bench, they're to keep me from killing officials. They are. They're to keep me on task. And it works. You know, oftentimes somebody will assist and go, I can keep that. No, you don't understand. I need to keep this. Either that or sedate me. So tomorrow we'll get into that and a lot more. And we'll branch out into some different areas. I want it to start slow, finish fast. And hopefully you got what you needed. Anything you need, like I said, I'm here. I'm here, and I don't know what we're doing the rest of the day, but I'll answer whatever you got.